Now, the Bram Weinstein Show on Washington's new home for sports, ESPN 630.
Hey, baby. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone.
You enjoy your day off?
I did. Go O's, hon. Let's play two. I mean, swept for the first time since Rushman's come up, right? So that dumb streak's over.
Yeah, 2 years. 2 years gone.
2 years ago.
I can tell you what it's going to become now, though, because I work in the media and you work in the media.
Mm-hmm.
Who did they lose to yesterday?
St. Louis.
Where do they play?
St. Louis.
Well, sorry. What league do they play in?
National League. So now it's not by an American.
Now it's going to be an American League team. I guarantee you this is what it's going to become tonight when they play the White Sox. So
they are now, because of that, they're 3 games back in their own division because Juan Soto, hon, is killing it for the Yankees.
He's a stud. He loves playing there.
Yeah. Shocker.
Yeah.
Yeah, shocker. Okay.
It's nice with construction noise going outside.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah. This thing, I have to admit it, like this thing over here at this Mazda Gallery thing's going up fast.
Yeah, it's I mean, you can
I thought it was something like when they tore it down, I'm like, well, we'll see that finished in 20 years.
No, it's going to be done in the next 2 years, I would guess.
Looks like it.
Maybe this year.
All right. So, yeah, the beeping's annoying. Really annoying. Try to do a radio show here, guys. Shut up.
The thing is, it's worse for us. I bet you people over there can't even hear it.
They can't even hear it.
Yeah,
they're like, what are you talking about? You're hearing things.
Yeah. I had a day where someone
talk sports, dummy.
I had a day where you were out, not when you were in France, but some time before, and somebody was drilling something outside the window, right here,
this is killer.
Outside the window, and it was going really loud, but you couldn't hear it over the air. So that was fun. Anyways,
well, I would have talked about this yesterday, but we're here today. I went to practice yesterday.
Oh, look at that,
Commanders.
And you saw the Dotson.
Saw
Dot
the
Dotson
Dot
in person.
live. I don't know. Has anyone shown the Terry one?
I don't think the team, because the team's the only one that can post this. So
well, that one came from Mariota, so probably why they didn't go out of their way. But that one was as good, maybe better, and his reaction walking off the sideline was my favorite part of the day.
Yeah.
So Terry was full on locked in like it was September.
Okay. All right.
Which fell in line with what I've heard about him, that he got himself in this crazy shape. And I think I said this a week ago when I went out there. I'm like, he looks it. Like, he looks ready to go. Not that, like, the guys look out of shape at this time of year, but he looks like prime condition, ready to go. And he had one. This is all, like, take this all with a grain of salt. Like, everything I say means nothing, okay? It's May.
It means everything.
No.
It's May 23rd, Bram.
No.
QB1.
No. I saw Forbes return some kicks. It doesn't mean
bust.
He's going to.
He's a bust.
I know, right? That's what it's going to be. I know that's what's going to. I'm going to address that one too, because Dan Quinn was asked about him returning kicks and answered a question about him returning kicks, which turned into, oh, he's the kick returner and not a cornerback, which is not what anybody meant by the question or the answer. And I watched it going, Dan, just say something like he's still a corner, because I knew it was going to happen. Yeah. I knew it. Like, I've been around too long. I know how this goes. The question was just about him returning kicks, and he answered a question about him returning kicks. That had nothing to do with whether he's going to play corner or not.
That was a typical Twitter reaction. Yeah. I really like apples. Well, why'd you say oranges suck?
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
I didn't say that.
But you said you like apples.
I didn't say that. Right.
That's Twitter in a nutshell.
Yeah. You can't win. These are these moments. They're little, and I go, later on today, I'm going to have to explain that Dan Quinn did not say that Emmanuel Forbes is not playing cornerback, but I know I'm going to have to, because that's what everybody's going to infer from that answer. It's just so stupid. Right. Anyway, let me go back to Terry, because he looks great.
Funny. They literally just tweeted it out.
The clip from him to Mariota?
They literally just
it's a good one, too. It's a good one, too.
Yeah. Okay.
Take 10 seconds to see the spin on this one and the catch that he made. And they have to show.
Whoa.
They got to show the post reaction to it. They probably can't.
They didn't.
They can't go sound up because he's cursing. But it's the full on. Remember Terry in Indianapolis when he made the catch and was like walking, like stalking the sideline and doing all that? He was doing that yesterday. I mean, it's May 22nd. And he's doing that yesterday. But he made this great catch on us. It's, again, 7-on-7. Sure. People are in shorts. Nobody's wearing pads. Nobody's getting hit. They yell at these guys if someone falls down.
Okay.
Like, it's that situation. There's no pass rush. Like, none of that stuff's happening. But he made a great catch. And as he walks off the sideline, the best part of it was he, like, looked over at the defense and he goes, "Oh, y'all are running that. We got something for that, don't we?" It was like dapping up everybody. Like we can make adjustments too. Keep telling me about Dan Quinn and his special defense, which I like that. I like when we get this. There like 2 years ago it was fun. It wasn't fun last year because they stunk. But the year before, when Chase and Montez would literally make fun of the offense during camp, was in some levels because our quarterback was either Heineke or Wentz, and I'm like, well, this isn't going to probably go well. Why don't you just take it easy on those guys? But like, I kind of liked the competitiveness of go ahead, or like Chase and Montez screaming brisket at Brissett last year, like just going after them, and it became a thing. And I have a feeling this is going to become a thing a little bit, but it's going to be a different kind of thing because it's going to be Jaden in the offense and those guys in the defense. We don't know who the chirpers are on the defense yet because we've lost the two chirpers. Chase and Montez were the chirpers of the defense that started all that. Like, I'm going to get you, and like you guys stink. I don't know who that is over there yet.
Got it.
I don't know who that is
I'm
yet.
sure Terry also remembers as well, like last year in camp, the defense was talking all of that trash the whole lead up, and then the season started and the defense sucked. So
this also was the time of year where Terry did the "I'm sticking up for my teammate" thing.
Right.
Remember that with Bieniemy, and Bieniemy got mad at him, which made no sense.
That was the sign of things to come.
It was the sign of you're gonna make an enemy of that guy. Really? Are you in May? You're gonna do that? Okay. So
great.
anyway, so he made this crazy catch and he walked off and he's like stalking the sideline like it was September, telling the defense, "Oh, we got something for you."
Yep.
Then everyone saw the one that they posted yesterday of Daniels hitting Jahan. And my favorite part of this was, and again, this means nothing. They're running 7-on-7 drills. He wasn't running routes like that last year. And the part about him for this year and a redo for him to try to get back to his rookie year was the magic with him is he's an incredible route runner with really soft hands and he's very good in small spaces. But like he's an incredible, he's the best route runner on the team. Last year, they didn't have him do that. Last year, they had him run all these short routes, little hitch routes. He just wasn't part of his craft. And I think it affected him. Remember, he was dropping passes.
Yep.
Like, I just think like it affected him. Like, he just wasn't able to be him, and he wasn't being utilized to the best of his ability. My favorite part of that highlight was it was a great route to beat a guy just to get a step for a corner route in the back of the end zone. That's what we want out of him.
Yeah.
So it was just a minor little sign of this coaching staff thinks of these players a little bit differently, and I like that.
Yeah.
So they're just little hints. It doesn't mean I know what the offense is or any of that stuff, but like that moment for me, both of those moments, one, Terry stalking around and all in, obviously, and yelling and screaming and not screaming at his teammates and making a crazy catch and telling them, you can't stop us. And then Jahan running a Jahan route, which I haven't seen in a year and a half, and making a crazy catch. I went, okay. Like, these are the little things that I see, and I went, that's good. Like, that's the good stuff. I haven't. I said this back in the spring last year. I'm like, how are they using him? Like, there were so many, like, percolating questions. Like, Terry gets into a fight with Bieniemy because he's trying to stick up for his teammate, which Bieniemy doesn't like for some reason, because St. Jude's clocked Cole Turner in a practice in May as if you're ever supposed to do something like that.
I'm going to look back at just how terrible and rock bottom that coaching staff
so crazy.
It was so bad.
They were so bad. And then, like, and then at first everybody was into the Bieniemy. Yeah, go get a Bieniemy. But by the summer, I was even like, he better back off.
A little much, yeah.
He better back off because these guys, they're not going to get pushed around like this. Like, you got to collaborate with them. And he never really did.
Of course not.
Then it showed up, like he's like, I'm the sheriff. And they were like, no, you're not. And then the defense stunk, so it all went crazy.
I do want to kick it over too, because I saw the Jon Allen media availability.
Yeah,
yesterday.
I'll talk about that too.
Okay, so I'll let it.
No, go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
but I was just gonna say he seems to share the same energy Terry does. Like, he was asked about.
Yes. He looks good too, by the way. He looks in shape.
I saw
he looks
the
good.
media availability. He looks trim.
He does. Like I said, go ahead. Say what you want to say. I'll tell you.
But what I was going to say with him was, he was asked about, everything from last year, and he goes, nope, I want to be here. I'm re-energized. He said it feels like Alabama, which I think that's like the utmost compliment coming from those guys. And I think the best thing he said, he literally said, I love coming into work every day now. And I'm like, thank God we got this guy back, because you and I talked about it all last year about how he and Payne had his moments in that Denver game, but other than that, Those two tackles were not good last year. I mean, they wasn't
Payne
just
turned the last month of the season. When Ron took over the defense, he started moving Payne around. Actually, Payne had a resurgence,
Yes.
but it was all too late. Nobody was really,
and that's what I'm getting
and
at.
they were still losing.
Right.
So it did they still Payne looked better, but they were still, the secondary would lose Cooper Kupp.
Yes, right.
And he'd
yes.
be 18 yards open.
That's right. Not just open, like wide open.
18 yards.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. I remember we looked back and I'm like, oh my God. He is 20 yards behind everybody.
Right.
How'd you lose him?
And so I think even Allen saying stuff like that is going to be paid dividends. Not only that, too, now that it's funny, now that Sweat and Chase are gone, too, now everyone is going to say, well, it's not on the defensive line this entire time now. We still are going to depend on you, but it's not like in years past where it's like, well, you better produce or else the whole defense is going to suck. Yeah.
You're it.
Right, where you're the scapegoat is what I'm getting at. I don't think that's going to happen
when
now.
you are 4 first-round picks and all of them are good,
right.
Like at that point, you do have to say to them, because none of them are busts. You have to go to them and go, when are you going to win games for us? Because we've got all our eggs are in your basket, guys.
Right.
That's not their fault, but it's the truth. I mean, that's what it was. Now, nobody looks at them that way.
Yep.
John and Duran are just good players.
Right. Exactly.
That's it. And with Allen, I think I said this last week, when all the trade rumors popped up again, and I go, that's actually not happening anymore. Short of some kind of offer comes their way that it's like when I was talking about Justin Jefferson the other day, if for some reason he was available and they wanted Jon Allen, well, maybe we change our mind about something like that.
Yeah.
But that ship has sailed a while ago. I said this like a week ago. When I was out there talking to people, they're like, oh, no, he's really locked in, really locked in. And he's all aboard. It wasn't I'm trying to spin whatever happened last year. They're like, no, they fixed that in January with him. They talked to him.
Yep.
He got on board really quick. And they're like, he's been around the facility constantly. He's been in the weight room constantly. He's all in.
Yeah.
So I've kind of known that ship has totally sailed out, short of an unforeseen offer that comes their way. And it wouldn't be for draft picks. It would be for something unusual. That's why I mentioned Jefferson. I'm like, if something unusual comes their way, then I think maybe they'd rethink that. But that's not the way they're going. It never made any sense anyway. It would only make their team worse.
Right, exactly.
They don't have his replacement. They don't have anybody nearly as good as him behind him. So what, you're going to hamstring Quinn in year one? That's their position of strength, at least on paper, is Allen and Payne. Everything else is all new. That's the position. That's the one thing he's got to look at and go, well, I know what those guys are.
Yep, right, exactly.
Right? At least I know what they are. And then hopefully Johnny Newton will get healthy and they incorporate him in some way. Let's see, because now he had that surgery. So let's see. But everything else around it is all a work in progress. Those are the two people that he's got to look at and go, well, I know what I'm getting out of them.
Yep, exactly.
But Allen, and I what was really interesting too? Someone asked him about leadership, which was a theme of a lot of the questions yesterday, because Quinn's put a lot on that. And I think it's a fair question.
Wagner, too, got a lot of them on that, too.
Yeah, well, because I think because everything is so new, I think there is a question of who fills the leadership void.
Sure.
I mean, that's a fair question to ask at this point. And maybe they don't have a clear answer to it, but it is important to them for the players to lead the team, which I do like about this. But Allen, who's been, de facto a leader, he's been a captain on the team. He's the one that does the pregame huddle, warm-ups with everybody. And then I thought he lost his way in that role last year. When the guy with the C on his chest is screaming, I'm sick of this, you know what?
Yeah.
7 years is too much, and dressed the way he was dressed for that particular moment. That's when I went.
Mercenary John.
I'm like, if you're captain, McLaurin saying I'm running cardio, which is his way, which is a passive.
Or figuring out identities in week 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is his passive-aggressive way of saying, I don't hate being here, but I don't like what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. John did it his way,
right.
which was to blow up.
the do-rag and the outfit.
The team captain can't be that.
Yeah, right.
But when he was asked about it yesterday, he did say, I need to lead by example. Because he's been the talkative one the last few years. So I wonder, we'll see, does he kind of seep back into I'm just part of a good team now. I'm not going to be the one bravehearting out of the tunnel anymore.
Right.
Maybe, maybe not. So that'll be an interesting story to follow into the season. Who becomes the spokesman and the leaders, right? Everybody went to Chase because he was the star. Everybody went to Montez because he's really good. everybody went to Duran didn't really want anything to do with that stuff. And I think it was pretty clear. Like he's like, I'm a good player. You know this. I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody. His interviews are terrible, right? Jon willingly accepted that in a lot of ways, and I don't know whether he's, because of everything that's changed, if he's going to be that guy. And maybe he's comfortable going, you know what, I do want to be here, and I don't want all the pressure on me, and it'd be better for me to just perform and let Bobby Wagner talk.
Right. Yeah. I mean, maybe.
I don't know who else on that defense fits the profile of the person who's going to stand up and be that other than Jon. But Wagner, everyone's already turning to him going, I see that everybody's following you.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And so he may, whether he wants it or not, may de facto fall into that category a little bit for them.
I saw Quinn also talk about it a little bit, how he said how Wagner, he'd like to see him pass that along to players, though, too, on how you
right, because he's only going to be here for a year,
right.
maybe two. Here's the other thing about him. Is it possible that he wants to transition into coaching and wants to work for Quinn? So I don't know. Okay. And I'm just speculating, because there's a lot of this that it's like when he was asked by Kay Adams a couple weeks ago, and she's like, what are you chasing here? Because sure, you guys could surprise anybody. Of course, it's the NFL, and Jaden Daniels could be out of the gate really good, and then all of a sudden you guys are good. I get it. However, you're not a favorite.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
You're not even a favorite in your own division, and we all know this.
Yeah.
So explain to me what you're chasing here. And he mentioned wanting to come here to be with Quinn and Norton.
Yeah.
So maybe this is his way of, whenever the transition happens, after this year, maybe he likes it here, plays another year.
Yeah, sure.
Whatever. He extends his career for however long it's going to extend. But I got a funny feeling that might be part of it, that he might have come here because he really likes the way they operate. And if he wants to go into coaching, he'd like to follow in their footsteps. Yeah. So maybe that's, okay. I might ask him that. I think that's a possibility, because him coming here was interesting. A guy like that at this stage of his career typically goes to a team that looks like they might be a Super Bowl team. Well, he didn't do that. Why?
He did mention that he was going to go to Dallas, but Dallas couldn't get the contract working out.
He said that was a year ago.
Yeah.
He said Quinn tried to get him a year ago. He didn't say this offseason. He said last offseason.
No,
people forgot. They said, he was almost a Cowboy last year.
Yeah. No. That's what I meant, though. But it does just reiterate that he loves playing for Quinn.
He loves playing for him.
Yeah, right.
And now he also mentioned, Ken Norton's here, too, and he played with him in Seattle when they were really good. And so I have a funny feeling that maybe that might be part of this, that he's like, I'm going to come play for you, and you're going to teach me the ropes, and I may transition my way, because just the way he conducts himself, you're like, that guy's a coach if he wants to be. He wants to be. But he comes off that way to me, like he's going to be a coach, just the way he conducts himself. But on Allen, I said this a while ago, and I'm like, they're not trading him, and he's actually very all in, and I think people finally saw that yesterday. He's in really good shape. His attitude was great, total 180 from the way it was by the end of the season. I mean, he had said it right after the season, almost kind of like a mea culpa of, all right, maybe I let things, I was frustrated. We stunk, and I don't want to be on a team that stinks.
Yeah.
And then he said, and I know it's going to be a rebuild again, and that stinks. And I'm kind of at the point in my, I understood where he was coming from. I didn't like the way he expressed it, but I got where he was coming from. I found out early he was totally all in. In February, they were telling me, you'll see, he's totally all in. And I think yesterday, that probably solved that. Are they going to trade him? Are they lying about it? No. He's all in with this team for this year. I can't say anything beyond next year because he has nothing guaranteed in his contract.
Right.
So we'll have to see what happens here. But if he looks like the guy back in 2022, then they'll probably extend him.
Right. That's what I would think. I mean,
because he has no guaranteed money left on his contract, and so they can minimize. Not that they need the cap room, but they can minimize.
They can do it now. Yeah.
They can minimize his cap hit again.
Right.
So he's a candidate for
when
that.
you trade for Justin Jefferson,
yeah,
he can clean the cap up.
Okay, so I loved what I saw from Terry. Just the kind of enthusiasm. Again, overall, the kind of energy that's around it is different. I mean, not that I'm surprised by this, but everything that we had heard about, Quinn and the energy around it. We're seeing it early.
Yeah.
And it's different than Bieniemy, where it was energy, but it was I'm going to whip you guys into shape, which was the energy that we got. And Ron let it happen. This one isn't that. This one feels like everything it was billed to be. You guys are going to have fun playing here. I'm going to get to know you. I'm going to move you around. I'm going to try to figure out what you do best. And you guys are going to play for each other. And that's the energy that I get. So that's the good news.
Yeah.
And then with Jaden, he threw that. Everybody loves seeing that stuff. He threw that pass to Jahan. The thing that really actually, and you won't see the video of this, that really stands out to me is, in these 7-on-7 drills, without knowing exactly what they're supposed to do, because they have instructions like, we want this to be a scramble drill, and we don't know that part. We don't know what they're telling them to do. But in 7-on-7 drills, the real key for me when I watch is, there's no pass rush. So you should be making the decision really quickly.
Yep.
Because there is no, there's
no pressure.
No.
Yeah.
And he does. Like,
Got
it's noticeable.
Yeah.
More like a week ago, more so than Mariota.
Huh.
Like, making decisions really quickly with the ball, whether they're the right ones or not. Again, it's 7-on-7. Nobody's tackling, so it's hard to know. Only the coaches will know, is he making the right decisions? But they're being made really fast. The ball gets out of his arms. He looks the part, obviously. I mean, he's a true 6'3", 6'4". Like, he is really thin up top, but his lower body is actually, I'm reassured by his build. I was scared he's going to look like Forbes, frankly, like really, really, really thin.
Yeah.
But he's not in his lower body. He actually looks like he's got the NFL lower body. He's just very thin up top. So I'm reassured by that. Arm looks fine. He's making these really quick decisions. And the other thing that really stood out to me about him was he was already making a ton of hand signals.
Yes.
Like May 23rd,
Yeah. Well,
going through all these hand signals. And I'm sitting there going, his reputation precedes himself. And they've said he's showing up at 5:30 in the morning and he's putting in the work. So the work ethic is there. It's already showing up in this limited glimpses. He clearly is an elite athlete. Until I see him practice or play, or more in all likelihood, these joint practices when they happen, then you'll get a better sense of where he really is, because then the competition actually starts to ramp up. But the early glimpses are really, really good. Like, just all the little telltale signs of, where is this guy? They're really, really good right now.
The hand signal stuff, I'm not shocked at all. I think this is, you might have been when you were on vacation, that either Cliff or Dan Quinn talked about this, that when he came here for his opening press conference, they handed him a playbook. And in the playbook, they said, like, the first thing you can learn are these hand signals. And they said, I guess it was either passed along to them or what. They said on the plane, his family was passed out catching up on things.
Yeah,
and
he read it.
And he was practicing the hand signals instead of going to sleep, essentially. So I'm not surprised with the work ethic. It's already coming
Wanting to get better, caring about it is half the battle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It is. It really is. Like, for a lot of these guys, like in any business, you're with people who really, really, really care to get better all the time. And there are others that don't, and they do the job. It's not like they're bad at it, but you need your quarterback to really, really, really care. It's got to really, really, really matter.
You mean be an option quarterback, then go to the coach and say you don't want to be an option quarterback anymore?
Yeah. The other thing, too, is it's funny that you bring that up because, like, the comparison to RG3 is so obvious because of the skill set.
Sure.
Right? And where they were drafted. And they were Heisman Trophy winners. All that stuff's really easy to compare.
Number 2, yeah.
I was not here when I was in Connecticut when RG3 was here. So I didn't I followed it very closely, but I didn't see it with my own eyes. But everyone has talked about the difference between the way these two carry themselves.
Yes, correct.
From the get-go.
Uh-huh. Yep.
Like, RG3 walked in like his you-know-what don't stink.
Correct.
He was
also enabled for that, too.
There's something
to be said about that.
Right. The atmosphere enabled it, but it was in there already.
Of course.
It was in there already, but it got enabled, which really exemplified it, and it really amplified it. And I think it got worse and worse and worse.
Yes.
In this case, we don't have a team that seems to be hell-bent on doing things like this. As you'll notice, and I was talking to Keim the other day, it's going to be on his podcast. I said, as you'll notice, there actually hasn't been a lot of social media that features him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've noticed that.
Purposefully.
Okay, got it.
They don't want to pressure him.
Got it.
They don't want him to feel like the weight of the world is on him. They also don't want him dumbed down either. Like, they don't want any silly things.
Got it.
They don't want, don't go up to him and ask him some dumb question and then post it on the internet. Like, we want him to be taken very seriously as a face of the franchise, and we want it to go slowly. We don't want him. So they're thoughtfully thinking through. Don't enable him. Make him understand how important he is, but allow him to grow into the position, and let's not just throw him out there, because, like, the second, RG3 came in here, were Subway ads, and The owner's letting him park in his spot, and he might as well have had the rush treatment with the yoga instructors and they allowed it. It was already in there, but they allowed it. Daniels doesn't seem like that personality to start with, which is the good news. But secondarily, he's a Heisman winner. He's the number 2 overall pick. He knows he's good. He knows how important he is. He doesn't act that way from what I've seen so far. But the team is also not pushing him on everybody going, you're the man.
Right.
They're not doing that.
And
I think it's important.
I can't buy Adidas unbelievably believable, no pressure, no diamond socks on the shop anymore.
Not yet.
Not day one, though.
Not day one. They're allowing this to I think they're just kind of, it's not coddling him. I just think that they're not forcing too much on him.
Sure. Right.
Learn the offense.
Yeah. What a concept.
Yeah.
What a concept to slow roll your number 2 overall pick rookie quarterback.
Overall, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll get to Forbes after the break. Bram, watch the show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. These guys made 2 of the greatest music videos of all time. This is LMFAO. This is Party Rock Anthem.
That's right.
And then what was the other one they did? I was just like...
Sexy and I Know
Sexy
It.
and I Know
There's
It.
another one, too. They had 3, I think.
They had 3, but those 2 were... This music video is amazing. I haven't seen it in a very long time.
Dream, but yes.
It's amazing. Where everybody ends up on the street in some dystopian world and has a dance-off. And it's amazing. I don't remember the backstory in these guys. They're like Nepo babies,
they are,
right?
Yeah. They were just
they're just
their dads paid for them to become artists.
Yeah.
And they looked like it, too.
They looked like it, and let's be honest here. That's a great song.
They also, the other song was Sorry for Party Rocking.
Sorry for
Party Rocking. It was like the sequel.
Right.
The sequel to that one.
Guys, that song is 13 years old, and it's good. It's good. I'm sorry. It's good. It is. There is no world where you would explain to me that that's not good. It is. I don't even care what the backstory is. That's good.
I will say this, though. You could pull that song up to a 12 or 13-year-old, I think. And if they had never heard it before, and you asked them,
what do you think of this?
No. Do you think this is made by AI?
Oh.
And they would go, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, none of the lyrics make sense. The weird interludes, shake that. It's AI. It's AI before AI became a thing.
2011, which is when that came out, is Throwback Thursday because that is the one and only time in the history of the Dallas Mavericks that they won an NBA championship. A Dirk Nowitzki team that beat LeBron James's first Miami team. First year he went there with Chris Bosh and joined Dwayne Wade. They got to the finals and lost. They would then win the next 2 years, and in the 4th year they lost as well, and that's when they broke it up and he went back to Cleveland. But that's the one and only time where Mark Cuban and company ended up winning a championship, and after last night, well, who knows? All of a sudden they're up 1-0 after winning on the road, so all they got to do now is win their home games and they'll be back in the finals again. And frankly, the way Boston has kind of looked throughout the playoffs, and if Indiana happens to be the opponent, I wouldn't put it past Luka and Kyrie to win it all.
I agree. Yes, the way Kyrie's playing has just been crazy.
I still don't. I'm not counting any chickens here. Like Minnesota could easily win this series.
Sure,
easily.
Sure, but it's still they won on the road. Against them. They're feeling themselves.
Yeah.
The whole bring you know what things going on.
Yeah.
They poked the bear too before the series started, which is never smart. So
nope.
Yeah.
Nope. So if they lose this, they're going to look back on it like we beat Denver but lost to them.
Right. Exactly.
This is going to be a little bit of not the same because the Ravens should have knocked the Chiefs out, but that's the Chiefs. Should have won that game.
And the Ravens made a mistake in that game.
They made a huge one. They just didn't run the ball.
Which they're the best running team.
They want the anti-Bieniemy. Right. They're like, we're just not going to run it. And we don't care what you think about that. We're just not going to do it, even though that's your strength.
We're
not going to do it.
Guys.
Yeah. Who's the guy who's the offensive coordinator there? The guy from Georgia? I can't remember his name now.
I know.
It was like Bieniemy infected his brain and made him throw the ball every play for some reason. Yeah. Anyway, but it's similar. It's like if they
Todd Monken.
If they beat Denver but lose here, they're gonna be very disappointed.
Yes.
Because I'm sure they're all sitting up there going, "We're in the finals."
Right.
You know that's how they're thinking about it. We'll see when we get Boston. They can get real nervous about it, but like they think they're in it. So last night was a little bit of a wake up call. Like one guy. Kyrie's back to playing basketball again, and that's a problem.
Yes, correct.
That's a real problem.
Well, the other part of this, too, is, I think in any other sport, especially like this works out in hockey quite a bit. Like we did this here, right, with the Capitals, where you make it that first time, you make that first deep run, and you go, oh, well, that was just the first run. We're going to do this like every year now.
No.
Not in the Western Conference, buddies.
No.
Like that conference we've seen year in and year out does not stay the same like each year. Like you might have two of the best players on your team, but we've just seen it too many times in basketball where things get flipped.
In that conference right now, just think about this for a moment. Steph Curry and LeBron James were in the play-in.
Right. Yes.
That's how deep it is. Like you would think, because they're all-timers, that just by their presence, they would at least be in the top 6.
Right. Correct.
And they're not.
Yeah. Right.
That's how deep that whole thing is right now. Let me get back to Emmanuel Forbes. I want to mention this one thing about him. Yesterday, people saw him returning kicks. They're thinking about kick returning because I've talked about this a while ago. Like they changed the rules this year in the NFL. It's going to what was the XFL rule a couple of years ago. That it's different. They're going to line up differently. The players are like you are going to get punished if you kick the ball out of the end zone now.
Right.
You're going to give the ball to the other team at the 30-yard line. So they're trying to force returns again because they don't want it to be a ceremonial play. So there's going to be basically a drop zone between like the goal line and the 10. The good kickers are going to get it like right at the 2 every time, and that's going to force a return and hopefully get the best out of it.
That's right.
And the players who are going to be covering the kicks, they start on the opposite side of the 50 now because what the league doesn't want are these 50 yards full sprint head starts because what they're trying to avoid are the collisions to have the concussions. That's what they're trying to avoid. So if they get everybody closer together, well, then they're not going to have the full run collisions in general on it. But that also means that you have to change your strategy of how you return it. Like I've kind of landed on, you're going to have to run plays.
Right.
Like this isn't like the old kickoff return thing was, and this is why Cordero Patterson was amazing at this, or Devin Hester, or B. Mitch for that matter. These players were able to do the get going, one seam cut, go. And if they made one guy miss, because they're all in these lanes, they're gone if they beat the kicker. It's a one. That's not what this is anymore. It's going to be too crowded in front of them. So I think teams are going to have to think about how do they run a quote-unquote play.
Well, you've heard about Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, to what? To try to block it, right? Well, they're Fields. They're talking about Fields.
They're putting Fields back there.
This is my point.
Yeah.
Teams are going to think about, this isn't a one seam and go thing anymore. This is can we block something and have a guy who's a running back, for that matter, who can do 2 steps and move, or like 2 cuts.
Or manipulate the crowd that's about to come, yeah.
I would put DeAndre Swift back there. He would be probably unbelievable at this. Because you need a guy who can do 2 cuts and can break contain. That's what you need now. It's not one seam and go. So the Commanders are trying out a lot of people back there, which is not a surprise to me because they're trying out a lot of people. Saw Brian Robinson doing it, not a surprise. Like I said, the running backs doing this won't surprise me. Chris Rodriguez could be an interesting role for him. I don't know that he has the requisite speed that they're looking for. But he's got the right mentality of it, but like you still want somebody who can game break it, which is why I look at someone like Swift. Well, Emmanuel Forbes happens to be one of the fastest players on the team.
Yeah.
So they've given him an opportunity. And we saw this. So yesterday, Dan Quinn was asked specifically, you're trying out Emmanuel Forbes. Can you tell us about that? And his answer was specific to that they're trying him out. And the way he put it was, we're trying to find all the unique skills that all of our players have, and how can we utilize those unique skills? So they look at Forbes and they go, he's crazy fast.
Yep.
Has
a knack for the end zone, too.
He's a knack for the end zone. He's not a pure running back or receiver, but I bet he played it in high school because, he's too good his hands are too good. He's too good with the ball in his hands. And, maybe this is something that they can use out of him.
Yeah.
Dotson is someone I'm thinking about, too. There's possibility for something like this. Well, the second he answered this question, he wasn't asked about him as a corner. He was asked about using him as a returner. And then he answered the question about using him as a returner and didn't qualify. Not that he should have any of it, we're not down on him as a cornerback. But of course, this gets out on social media and they're like, see, our first round pick corner's just a kick returner now.
Right.
That's not what happened yesterday. I'm going to defend Quinn. The question was specific. He answered it specifically. Forbes also was on the field. I know last week people noticed, Michael Davis was playing a lot more at the quote unquote first team corner slot.
Yep.
That's not what happened yesterday. Forbes was out playing corner. No decisions have been made about him. Like I saw Keim did something on his podcast where he said like he's going to have to earn the starting job, which people twisted into he's been benched. Not happened yet.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I do think he has to earn it. I agree with that.
Sure.
I don't think anything's gifted to him. I don't think anything's gifted to anybody here. I mean, the only people that are obviously starting are John and Duran.
Right.
Like obvious, and Dorrance Armstrong. Obvious starters, Luvu. Outside of that, like, hey, this is all up for debate, what we're doing out here. Like, is Derek Forrest on the field early? I don't know. Is Quan Martin on the field early? I don't know. Is Samerstow going to actually be a day one starter? I think so, but I don't know.
Who knows? Yep.
I don't know. Like, these are all, like, is St. Juice a starter again? I don't know. Like, you say the same thing about him. I don't really know. Now, I know he's a first-round pick, and so everybody's questioning it. I've come to no conclusions about it, and I don't think until we get to camp we're going to have any kind of conclusions about it. But I will say he was running around with the quote-unquote ones again as a cornerback. He was beat on one route as well. Like, I don't think any decisions have been made. I agree with Keim that, like, I think he's going to, like, he's no surefire thing, which means he does have to earn his way into this. In this defense, the second they hired Quinn and Witt, I went, the best, we're going to find out exactly what he is immediately because corners with his kind of instincts eat in those defenses through the years they have. Deron Bland did. Trayvon Diggs did. The corners in Atlanta did. The corners in Seattle did. Mm-hmm. So if he doesn't thrive in this, it's him, not them, for sure.
Yep.
But I was just pointing it out because I saw the question, I saw the answer, and I knew what was going to happen. Everyone's going to assume, oh, my God, he's just a kick returner now. No, that's not the case at all.
Told you it's a Twitter argument.
I know. It's not the case at all. Yes, they tried him back there. They tried Robinson back there. You got a problem with that?
Right.
They tried Dotson back there. You got a problem with that? Like, they're trying a lot of people out to figure out what they can do. Okay? All right.
But you told me.
But you told me he's returning kicks.
You told me he sucks because he's a punt returner now.
I didn't say that. No one said that. All right, I got to talk about inside the NBA next. This is very sad.
Morale.
Very
low.
Sad. It's very low. We're going to do that next. Bray Washington Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. Gallo's in a dancing mood today. His second selection for Throwback Thursday is a Pitbull song.
You have to.
2011.
You have to.
We chose that for Throwback Thursday because that is the one and only time in the history of the Dallas Mavericks.
You missed the woo.
Yeah. He starts every sentence with woo.
The woo. Mr. 305.
Yeah.
Mr. Worldwide.
Yes. We chose this 2011 as the one and only time the Mavericks won a championship. And after last night, they're up 1-0 in the Western Conference Finals after they won in Minnesota. So starting to believe down there in the Big D that they might be a surprise champion this year with Luka going off and Kyrie going off. I think we're 10 years away from the sad Pitbull concerts where he's a little overweight, kind of can't bring it anymore.
Think so. No, I don't think so.
The suit doesn't fit the same.
Nah,
he's got the same
I disagree.
glasses.
I 100% disagree. It's part of his look. He's going to stay in shape.
Maybe.
Like this weekend, I'm going to Kenny Chesney over at Commanders Field.
Remember that Super Bowl halftime show and 50 Cent was clearly overweight?
Well, that was different.
Obviously overweight.
50 didn't have a million songs. He had kind of a blip in the radar.
He had some big ones, though.
It was only one great album, though.
Right.
And so he knew his time was up in like 2005, 6, 7 when he wasn't pumping out hits.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Pitbull's different, though. Like Pitbull's pumping out a hit a year, I'd say.
Okay.
I think he knows.
All right.
Well, my comparison was going to be, I'm going to see Kenny Chesney this weekend. That dude has stayed jacked his entire career. He kind of knows.
Not everybody does. You never know. Pitbull might get into pizza.
But I'm just saying.
Who knows?
Bald dude, you kind of have to be jacked because you don't have anything else to fall back on.
I got a funny feeling in 10 years, those concerts are going to be sad.
I disagree.
That's
disagree. I think he knows his place.
He's also very smart. I've said this a million times about him. If he walked down the street without the sunglasses on, you wouldn't know it's him.
No idea.
You'd have no idea that it's him.
You also
He's kept his anonymity for somebody who got as famous as he did.
Difference, too. 50 Cent is mainly L.A. and New York. Pitbull's Miami. You have to stay in shape if you're living in Miami.
Yeah. Well, he could be doing shows in Branson, Missouri.
He could, but I think he knows where his bread is buttered. That's what I'm telling you.
His residency is going to be on some casino boat in Mississippi.
I don't think that's what he's going to be doing.
That's funny, though.
I don't think he's going to be doing that.
Let's see. I love this graphic. This is amazing. ESPN just posted this. Seasons since last conference finals appearance. The Mavericks, 0.
Yeah, okay.
The Stars, 0.
Mm-hmm.
The Rangers, 0. The Cowboys, 28. Thank you for making me laugh.
God.
Thank you.
Catching strays, the Cowboys are.
Thank you for making me laugh today.
It's a good one.
That's amazing.
Really good
Rangers
one.
just won the World Series. Stars and Mavericks are playing right now. Stars start their series tonight with Edmonton.
If I wanted to be really petty, I would have lumped Houston in there, because Houston, the Astros, of course, have been a million times now over the years. The Rockets had to have gotten to a Western Conference final.
I think it's been a while.
Let's see. Hold on.
It's probably been a little while for them. They had good teams when they had Chris Paul and Harden. I don't think they got to the.
They were last in 2018.
Yeah.
2018, they were in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah. 2018.
Yeah.
Okay, and then
They lost to Golden State.
Did the Texans ever get that far? Did they ever get to the conference finals?
To an AFC championship?
I don't feel
I feel like they
it.
have, though.
I feel like they kept
haven't.
losing.
There's no way.
I feel like they kept losing early in the playoffs. But maybe I missed like the crazy year against Kansas City was not to get to the Super Bowl.
They're the only team in the conference that has never appeared in the AFC
and which is interesting
championship.
because they've been in the playoffs a lot. Actually,
right? They've
won that.
They've won
division
that first.
lot.
They've won that first wild card game a million times.
They've had a lot of home games in the playoffs because they keep winning that. They've won that division a lot through the years.
Right, exactly. So I mean, okay, they're in the same boat as the Cowboys, but
that was funny though. Thank you, ESPN. You made me laugh. Okay. Let me talk about inside the NBA. So it's trickled out. It's not official, actually, but it's trickled out that TNT is indeed going to lose the rights to air NBA games.
Right.
Which means why would they run inside the NBA? They don't have the games, right? It sounds like NBC is going to take their place with their slate of games. ESPN is going to keep theirs, and then Amazon's going to have a big-time slate. Charles Barkley went on Dan Patrick today, said morale is low, and then went on to basically call the bosses at Turner idiots for losing this, right? And he's like, why in the world would you want to lose something like this? Like, how is this not working for you? Mm-hmm. And then he went on to say that people have, told him you should just start your own production of Inside the NBA and just move everybody with you, like as if people won't watch that. Or, I don't know, sell that to Amazon or whatever. So the show is too good, I think. It's been the best studio show in sports a long time running now. I don't think there's anything even really close to it that's as good or as watchable or as can't miss that's attached to any one sport. And I hate to see it die. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like none of those people want it to, but I don't know what the solution is. And this is just a unfortunate casualty because the rights came up, the rights went up exponentially. The streamers are now bidding. They have many ways to make money that TNT and ESPN and NBC doesn't. They can put games on packages where you have to buy subscriptions from them for Prime, things like that. Yep. So that's why Netflix they saw what happened with Prime and all the stuff with the NFL games. So we want those, and they hope 1 million new subscribers. That's what that's why they're doing this. They're hoping they're going to get 1 million new subscribers just because of the football games. So the incentive part for TNT and the old linear and cable networks is not the same. They can't offer things like this. Therefore, the money goes up exponentially, and they just got outbid. Barkley's point has been we shouldn't have been outbid. And maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. Sure. And maybe the heads will go to him and go, listen, this is how much we make on this. This would be a losing proposition if we did this.
The money's different when it comes to cable TV and streaming.
Correct.
I mean, that's
so
just simple.
Who knows?
Not simple math, but it's math.
Barkley also brought up that the head of Turner, David Zaslav, had said publicly, we don't need the NBA. And he was like, that's why he's an idiot. Like when you say something like that, the commissioner's going to hear it and go, okay, I guess you don't then.
Guess we're going to have to test that, right?
I have a hard time believing this is going away forever because people like it too much. And it doesn't sound like Kenny, Shaq, or Chuck, or Ernie would not want to do it together.
It sounds...
And considering all the people who do this show are going to be out of work because they don't have this show anymore, they could take the staff with them and just recreate it without the music.
Well, and it also
they'd have to change the branding a little bit, and they'd have to. I don't know if they'd be able to use an NBA logo or not. It would depend where it was. And they'd have to change the music because TNT is going to be like, that's our music.
It sounds like one of the logistical things is that Ernie is in Atlanta, and that's kind of a sticking point with him, is that he wants to stay there.
He already publicly stated he's not leaving Turner. You know, he does other things.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
He calls baseball games. He calls golf events, whatever the other things Turner has. So they'd have to incentivize him and pay him a ton of money to probably walk from Turner, because that's just part of his job there.
Well, I mean,
those other guys do the NBA. He does a lot of things for Turner Sports.
I think if you're Ernie, you get to go to the bosses there and go, look, we're going to do this show. Like, I mean,
I'm not going to stop doing the other things.
You guys lost this show. I still want to do it. Can you make the exception here? Like, I know contracts are a bitch, but like, go look at all of the main voices in sports now. Everyone's doing everything now. Look at what Kenny Albert does. Look at I'm trying to remember.
Noah
Nance.
Eagles
Look
doing...
at Nance. Nance does multiple things.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We all do. That's been going on forever. We all do. Gus Johnson was calling women's college basketball games earlier this year. Noah Eagles about to call the French Open. Like, that's normal. Like I'm calling women's soccer and the Commanders.
Right.
It's not abnormal. Like Dave Johnson calls DC United and the Wizards. Like, it's not abnormal for that stuff to go on in our industry. And maybe they'll figure it out. And I think the show is kind of too good for it to just go away. And none of the guys clearly want it to. So I hope it gets revived in some way. I don't know if it'll be the same, because if they change a lot of it, then all of a sudden does it lose some of what it is? I don't know. And then part of it is they do have to show all these highlights. Well, if they're on their own, they won't have the rights to do that. Yeah. So I don't know how that's going to work out. I do think it sucks. But if that show ends up somewhere else, then great. And if it doesn't, you know what? It'll just go down as one of the greatest sports shows in history. I just think it's prematurely going away because it's still got its fastball.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's one of the... You tell me what in today's society that's just like, yep, that's the best with no debate.
It's also not close.
Right. Like they're the one where
no
everyone...
offense. I love ESPN. I know I pick on them a lot, but their studio show compared to that show, it's not even in the same ballpark.
What I think happened
yesterday
too, though, we heard about how the college football playoff, the first round now, is going to be licensed out to TNT. Everyone instantly was going... TNT can't license that show out to somebody, or vice versa. Like ESPN can't somehow produce it or get the production.
Here's the other problem too. All of those other three, they're all going to try to get Barkley.
Right. Yep. Right.
But not get everybody else.
Yeah. Right.
They're all going to try to get Barkley. I hope Barkley is smart enough to know that the magic is in that group.
Yes.
That he's the star of it,
right.
But the magic's in that group. And then they're going to stick him on a desk with Stephen A. and Kendrick Perkins. It's not going to be as good. It's not going to work. The chemistry won't be there. And then he's going to start to stick out like a sore thumb when the laugh track isn't rolling when he makes the jokes.
Yeah.
So I hope that they keep it together, or he doesn't do that and go somewhere else, because I have a feeling it will go wrong for him. I agree. Because it's not going to be the same.
Right.
They're all going to try to get him, obviously. But it's not going to be the same.
You know how this works, too, with ESPN. ESPN's going to be overproduced with him, too.
Of course.
You can't, like, the magic of that show is they start rolling the cameras and let them say whatever they want to say.
And then they're going to do a million things. Chuck's Yucks is up next, and it's like, oh, my God. Stop it. And then Stephen A is going to feel threatened, so he's going to have to try to one-up him constantly. It's like, oh, God. No, you can't. You got to show me walking into Madison Square Garden, not Chuck. It's like, oh, God.
I just want Chuck to make fun of San Antonio women. That's all I want.
That's all I want.
ESPN, don't ruin that.
They got a good thing going there. Hopefully they keep it together. I hope Chuck doesn't end up on one of these other ones, because I have a feeling it's not going to go well. It's not going to be the same is the problem. All right, we'll take a quick break. Very much the show. ESPN 630 to Sports Capital. Kesha? Much. 2011.
It's the sound.
Yeah.
It's the sound that year.
Throwback Thursday, 2011. That's when the Dallas Mavericks won their lone championship in their franchise's history. They won Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals last night in Minnesota. Luka Doncic was amazing late. Kyrie was killing it early in that one, and they held on and won a very close game last night. It was pretty much a statement win, but we'll see. In Minnesota, I'm not putting it past them to come back in the series at all. We also want to point out that the Wizards have had a big role in that 2011 team. Mm-hmm. Back in 2010, so this was the year before, was the big trade that involved Caron Butler, Brendan Haywood, Deshaun Stevenson to Dallas. We got back James Singleton, Josh Howard, Drew Gooden.
Drew Gooden. All right, there you go.
In the booth. It's somebody else. Who forgot somebody there? There was
I
one
forget
who
it was. I had it pulled up before the show.
No offense to Drew Gooden. That didn't work out very well for us.
It was the unload. It was the blow the team up. It was the blow the team up, because they traded Gilbert.
But when you blow the team up, you're supposed to get things in return that help you rebuild. James Singleton, Josh Howard, Drew Gooden did not do that for us.
Correct, yes.
Uh-huh.
The following year was the Gilbert Arenas for Rashard Lewis.
Yes.
Straight up.
Straight up. Now, Gilbert, of course, was never going to get his career back on track because he had a knee injury,
Yes.
not the gun stuff. It was the knee injury that really kind of blew up his career.
The dagger of that day, by the way, was the other trade, was when the Gilbert Arenas teams were feuding with LeBron James and the Cavaliers, and they traded Antoine to Cleveland. And that one was a little bit more of that one tugged at the heartstrings a little more because it was like, you just traded one of the big three to LeBron. Like, come on, man. So, yeah, that one was a bit of a dagger.
Now, and I had to look this up to remember this. Caron Butler got hurt the championship season.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Had a season-ending knee injury, so he actually wasn't in the end. In the end, he wasn't part of it, but they ended up winning anyway. Yeah. I guess I saw this thing. It said they started 25-4.
Yeah, they were ridiculous. Yeah.
And then Caron went out for the season, and apparently Nowitzki got hurt in the middle of the season, so they went through a rough stretch where they didn't have their guys, but then turned it back around, and everything was fine into the championship. Yeah. And then, if you want a Wizards connection this year, Daniel Gafford was traded to this Dallas Mavericks team for Rashawn Holmes and a first-round pick. Think about that. We got a first-round pick out of him. So the Wizards actually do have 2 picks in the draft coming up here. Number 2 and number 26 in the draft this year.
How dare you not bring up Porzingis?
What about him?
Former Wizard also on the other side of things, too.
Oh, that's right. We traded him to Boston. Yeah. After
he loves it here.
After they tried it, well, how did that? Oh, they had to send us. They got messed up. They tried to do a 3-way deal.
Right. It fell apart.
And they had somehow last minute got it back together.
Got it back. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Let's see. Speaking of, Kyle Kuzma's name has already popped up for the first time here with he could be traded situation. Mm-hmm. And they're linking him to potentially Philadelphia, who's going to be extremely active looking for somebody to pair with Maxey and Embiid.
Got it. Okay.
Because Tobias Harris is a free agent, so there's a hole for them so they can move on from him, and they're going to need a third star. But so his name for the first time has popped up, but here's what's being written in Yahoo. Kyle Kuzma will be another advanced wing player on the trade market. Although Washington's asking price for the veteran scorer prior to February's trade deadline was too rich for most rival teams. Now, remember, it was painted as they actually went to him and said to him, do you want to go? And I guess he said no, apparently, supposedly.
Yes.
He said no. He actually verified that. He said no, and I think they told him, well, if we get something ridiculous, we're going to trade you anyway, but we're not going to give you away then. Since you want to be here, we're going to take you up on that. Does that change in the offseason? I don't know because the season's now over. But if you kept him at the deadline, why wouldn't you go into next season with him that way? Unless someone does come along with whatever your price is, and then you go to him and say, do you want to play in Philly?
Right, correct.
So it sounds like they're having open communication with him. But this Yahoo report is he will be on the market again, but the price is firm. They're willing to move him, but you got to meet our price. We're not looking to get rid of him. Right.
I don't know. I mean, I said this. He's got a very team-friendly contract, so he's very movable in that. Like, he's not on some max deal. He's got a nice number there. This goes all the way back to whenever they would do this with Beal, though. Yeah. Are you trading him? Are you guys trying to trade him, or is he actually on the market? Like, that's the question here. Like, I don't think they're trying to move him. I
think I think this is phrased the right way. It's basically like, we'll talk to you.
Right.
But you don't come at us with something that we don't want. We're not looking to move him. This was like the Jon Allen thing, like last hour when we were talking about it. The whole time when they were talking about trading him, I'm like, or people were talking about trading him. I went, why would you?
Right. Exactly.
Unless he doesn't want to be here, why would you? You don't need cap space. He's got non-guaranteed money. He's a very good player. He's still not even 30 yet. Why would you? You don't have his replacement. Why would you trade him? And in the case, the Wizards are different because, who knows what they're really thinking about what their future core really looks like. We may not even have any real clue of what that is outside of Denny and Bilal, frankly. I'm going to play the pool bite in a second that Will Dawkins said when he went on that Beatles show about what he said about Jordan Poole, because I think it's important to hear what he is thinking about him after what was a very unusual first year after getting traded here. But like with Kuzma, I love him. I'm not advocating getting rid of him. I would take the same position they're taking. You come at us at a deal we can't refuse, we'll take you up on it. But outside of that, we're not looking to move him. And it's not Beal where he's making $50 million a year and it's just hamstringing all the maneuverability that we have. So why would we get rid of him? He's good. He wants to be here. If you're going to come, like, we realize we're not that good right now. We realize we could stack up on assets, but you better make it worth our while.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So that's how I feel about that one.
The other one that I would say, though, is there's been all of the talk about OKC wants to upgrade, too, though. And, like, I'm going.
Yeah, the time is now for them.
Like, you got all those assets.
They're
we'll talk to you
basketball's
guys.
Orioles.
Right, exactly.
They've got too many young, good players, and they need to, if they want to go to the next level, then now they got to get a couple veterans to go with the young. Like, they're not going to trade Shea, and they're not going to trade Holmgren.
Right.
But they do need another veteran to go on a team like that.
I don't remember who posted it, but of course, like, none of this matters. But one of the odds makers said that, like, Giddey was the favorite was to land here. And so
because Dawkins, remember, came from OKC.
Exactly. Right. So I'm already going, that's cool. That's fun with you, with the Philly people, but I'd rather talk to that franchise that has a million assets that are going to be willing to go, all right, yeah, we'll pay for that.
Well, they've reached the point where their process worked. They're good.
Yes.
Right? They have a couple of studs.
Yep.
They also have a ton of young guys. They still have a lot of draft capital, and they're like the Orioles. Now they got to start paying these guys.
Yes.
Shea's going to get a big contract.
As he should.
So it's good, right? It's going to change things. They're a couple years away from some of these other guys that are going to have to be paid. And at that point is when you move into this spot where you have to get the veterans to fill in the holes. And I could see where someone like Kuzma's extremely attractive to a team like that.
Yes,
where they go, bring it. He's won before. People
forget
that part.
Right.
He's won before. He's extremely well liked. He's a pro. And he'll fit in.
Yep.
He's not demanding to be the star. He'll totally fit in, and he'd be a good upgrade for someone like that. So they're a very good trade partner for Washington. If they think Giddey's got an upside and they're going to get a couple of picks to go along with it because they're burning a hole in OKC's pocket and the window's open now for them, then they're a very good trade partner. And if they want Giddey, and I know there's some stuff on the outside that especially...
NBA literally closed that investigation today.
They did, but it's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
like the whole topic is very uncomfortable about why they were investigating him. So awareness of that going into it is unusual, but I would trust from the on the court stuff, who would know better what his upside is than Dawkins?
Yep.
So if Dawkins is saying we should go acquire him at his age and his price point, and we can get draft picks to go with him because they're getting a proven product in Kuzma to try to go over the top, that also might be a deal that we can't refuse. So I get it if that's the way they're going to go.
Yeah.
Now, as for Poole, Dawkins went on Michelle Beadle's show, which I can't remember what the name of it is, but I like all the clips. It's on with like Chandler Parsons and Lou Williams. I actually think it's very good. I enjoy watching her on this show. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, she did one the other day where she like said "F you, Harrison Butker." I don't know if you've seen this. It's really crazy.
Over the Top, is that the name of it?
Maybe Run It
Back is what it's called.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So Will Dawkins went on there, and he was asked about Poole, and this is what he said about it.
Oh, no,
we don't want to do that.
Go on.
I've only cued you 15 times. I'm going to throw to this. 15 times.
Because I pulled up.
You were too busy looking for Kesha songs.
No, today. I pulled up her Twitter.
You're like, I gotta
account.
play Kesha.
I pulled up her Twitter account and I lost it. So give me a second.
So we just need a second.
Give me a minute here.
Okay. Well, he talked about Jordan Poole. And does Jordan Poole like Kesha? I don't know. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. Let's find out. Here's Will Dawkins on that.
Bring on, you trade for Jordan Poole, which raised a lot of eyebrows with everything that happened with him in Golden State.
Yeah.
How did that whole process go down? What were you looking for that move?
Yeah, I think they all look as different trades, but it was kind of all one packed in one. You got to do the best based on the timing and everything. Love CP, had him in Oklahoma City. He really helped start that second wave and really gave SJ that platform to kind of learn how to play point guard and with the ball. So knew what he would do in the environment that we had, but I thought at that time it made more sense to try to invest in a young player in Jordan Poole, who I'm actually excited about. I know he didn't start the year the way he wanted to, but he's still young, still developing, and the way he finished the year is what we're expecting moving forward. So for where our team is, Jordan was a leader for us, and he's going to continue to be that and a player that's with us moving forward.
Okay. So this actually is a reiteration of the way Winger talked about him at the end of the year, where he almost got into tears about how Jordan Poole had basically turned it all back around. And I did like the way Dawkins put this because it's where I landed on it too. They know in no way, shape, or form when they were trading Bradley Beal, did they think that Jordan Poole would be a person that would end up coming back here. There's no way they thought that.
Yeah.
But when the offer came, it was too good to be true. Like, not unlike the Porzingis deal a couple years ago that Two Guns did, where I went, there's no way that they thought at the beginning of the season the plan is to acquire him. It just happened that he was available, and it was too good to be true, so they turned it down. So they took it. In this case, it's weird. They were total rebuild. They're not hiding it. The total rebuild. But when you go and get someone like that, it kind of makes you wonder, what does this rebuild actually look like? Because he's a little too good for all of that.
Yeah.
He's a little too established, and he makes a little too much money. Like, not a lot of money. And then he came in here, and it was weird because he's coming off the Draymond stuff, and it was a really weird year. Mm-hmm. And then he gets here, and he knows he's on a bad team, and then they tell him from the get-go, you got the green light, and he took that very seriously, so much so that he did, like, Harlem Globetrotter type things that didn't have things that you stand up and cheer about.
That's
like,
right,
just crazy, terrible plays.
With mental lapses sprinkled throughout, too. That were really bad.
Yeah, the fumble was incredible.
Yeah, right.
There were a couple of shots where he'd, like, turn his back and then he'd get blocked. Like, just crazy, crazy air balls, like, really ridiculous-looking things. And I noticed this, too. Once they made the coaching change, things changed, things settled down. He did get a lot better.
Yeah.
When they put him on the bench, where everyone was like, oh, they benched him. Actually, it turned out to be really good for him off of the bench. He became a huge spark plug, and he was back to scoring 20 to 30 points a game. He would have a couple of nights where he's lighting it up, which I expected from the get-go. Like, you're going to have a few nights with this guy where he's on, and he's going to be killing it. Because he's a volume scorer. And so there they are saying it again, that he's turned the corner to the point where they see him as a part of all of this. Like, I thought of the people he would talk about in the offseason, are you willing to trade him? I thought it would be him. That said, the year was so weird that maybe some of the other teams are going, I might need to see another year with him before we're going to give you anything of value, because we want to make sure what we're getting here is a professional player whose head's on straight.
I think also a part of this might be, like, why they didn't exactly bring in Chris Paul either. Like, yeah, that trade fell into their lap, but I also think when you're trying to kind of rebuild the culture here, you want the right players here. And what did we talk about with Chris Paul? He's not talked about as being a nice dude or like a good teammate by any means of the imagination. I think they were looking to never bring him in here. And then I think, but on the flip side with Poole and with Kuzma, this applies to, is they're good teammates. Like, Poole went to the bench last year and didn't say anything about it and was a good soldier about it and, like, was a good teammate about the whole entire thing. I think that's a part of what they're trying to build here as well, is going, even if it's going to be a rough patch, we want this to be the right guys in here, too. And, like, you saw other guys thrive, like Denny and Kispert. Denny took a huge step this year. Maybe it was because he had good teammates around him. I don't know, but I'm just saying it doesn't hurt when you have guys like this around when you're having a rough patch as a franchise.
I don't know what the answer is, but I have a hard time believing they should go in a different direction out of this coach. Like, I feel like after what I saw, like, the guy had no chance to really win, but they were extremely competitive down the stretch. Denny got a lot better. Poole got his head on straight and now so much so that you're talking about how he's a leader on your team. And, you know, I noticed a lot of this towards the end of the year. Like, a lot of the social media posts looked like these guys were really enjoying each other.
Yes.
And that is like, go read the Athletic article about the Cleveland, okay?
Everybody hates everybody.
Go read Wizards Bra, or go check out Lord of the Flies Wizards a couple years ago when they were 12-3 and then 13-48. Yeah. Like, go... You know, like it sounds like that, like 13, whatever it was. It's basically what happened, and then everybody wanted to, like, kill each other. Right. They were fighting each other, so whatever was going on. Like, I honestly feel like by the time this turned around, once they made the coaching change, and once Keith came in, and once things kind of settled down, actually there were a lot of really good signs. They don't have a team they can win with. Like, obviously, they don't have a team they can win with. But, like, there were a lot of signs of life in them and growth and playing the game, as they say, the right way. And Poole had a lot of really good moments down the stretch. And Kuzma wanted to be here. And Denny got way better this year. So, I don't know. I don't know how they haven't come to the conclusion they should just bring him back. Like, I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet.
You know what it felt like? Keith felt like when Whitman was here. Like, you knew Whitman was probably not going to be the guy if they ever ascended, but he had them playing hard, had them playing defense. Wall was probably his best years under Whitman. Would you disagree with me on that?
Wall.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, he had some great years with Brooks, but I'm just saying.
This is the Scott Jackson special.
Yeah.
Where he goes, maybe the most he's always like the most underappreciated character who's come through here over the last 50 years is Randy Whitman.
He's right. Yeah, I think he's right.
He had them playing the way they could win.
Right. Yeah. Wall would play defense.
Yes.
He would use that speed to play defense. It was. I don't know how he motivated him to do it, but he did. It was great. It was fun to watch.
This guy Keefe, he's got the profile of, I don't know if he's got the same personality, but like it's Spoelstra. He's a lifer.
Yeah.
He's a film nerd. He's like a development guy. And he may not have a big personality, but okay.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
and at this juncture right now, who do you think you're attracted to coach this team?
That's right.
Like Phil Jackson's not like, I'll leave the ranch in Montana.
Well, and you're not going to overpay for that right now either.
Why would you?
There's no reason to. Yeah.
Like Detroit went and gave Monty Williams the biggest contract any coach has ever gotten on a team that's not good.
Right. Exactly.
What did they think
Then
was going to happen? Well, of course. But what's he supposed to do? Turn that money down? Of course he won't.
Right.
He had to take it.